Hello heroes and welcome to the One Shot Twitch channel. I am your host Tracy and I am here with a very special guest this week. This is Jordan Shiveley, aka Dread Singles. Jordan, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people and tell them what you have going on.
My name's, as they said, Jordan Shiveley. I mostly am found on @HottestSingles on Twitter, where I write a lot of weird stuff, but I'm also currently writing my first physical book for Unbound, which is a publisher out of England. And I have written for a bunch of role-playing games like The Spire, and recently I'm writing for the Odd Jobs from MacGuffin and Son, or MacGuffin and Co. Yeah, just stuff like that. I write weird shit. I have a Patreon. I have Void Merch, which is a t-shirt company. Just being creepy on the internet, mostly trying to make a living.
And that is perfect for what we're going to be doing today, because as with the other We Are the Dungeon streams, Jordan and I today are going to play You Are the Dungeon. That is my game that is up on
I am the dungeon.
You am the dungeon, I am the dungeon.
I is dungeons.
We are all dungeon together. I'm having flashbacks to the United Methodist Church I grew up in.
Oh no.
It is...
Why?
Who knows? It is live on Kickstarter right now. We are currently chugging ahead toward the stretch goal, which is to have Gannon Reedy of the Neoscum podcast illustrate an entire tarot deck for this game.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which
Gannon's art is so good.
It's so
I fucking
good.
love his drawings.
I'm so happy that he wanted to do this, and I really hope that when all is said and done, we get to see 78 brutal dungeon Gannon Reedy style tarot cards. That would be phenomenal.
Not that this game itself is not a reason to back, but getting Gannon to draw 78 tarot cards is also a reason to back.
Yeah.
Because that would be fucking amazing.
Reason upon reason upon reason.
Hey, Scummers. Back it.
Yeah.
Scummers, you can do it. Come on. There's enough of you out there.
There's a bunch of them out there. Jordan, today we are going to play You Are the Dungeon. And this process begins, as we discussed before we went live, with a very simple question to kick things off. So I'm just going to ask you, what was your original form?
I was a restaurant.
Ooh, I feel like you're mining some personal history here.
No personal trauma from 20 years of working in a restaurant.
Wonderful, a restaurant. They've all been different. We've had a latrine.
Latrine.
Yeah, we've had an arena.
That one must have been great.
That was the Neoscum one.
Of course it was. I'm surprised the Neoscums weren't like, it was a pus factory.
Well, they brought Pusbot with them, and we all didn't want to get obliterated on stream.
Blech.
So, cool. So a restaurant. Who was responsible for your creation?
The chef.
All right, the chef. Do you want to give a name to the chef, or just leave it at the title? Looming
They're
large?
chef, but there was some necromancy going on.
With a little
bit of necromancy.
Typing.
Just trying to stop that overhead. Get everything cheaper.
Yeah, if you don't have, you don't have to pay people that aren't living, right?
Yeah. And also, what if you can keep reanimating the food over and over or something, or grow it?
Oh, gross. That's fantastic. Fantastically awful. So
this is our leg room. We just have all these limbs growing. In-house.
It is in-house necromantic pork.
Yeah.
So this question is sort of the inception of the dungeon, both as space and as metaphorical concept. What evil took root in your heart?
Hunger.
Hunger is a very good evil.
Yeah.
And what foul being first heeded the call of your curse?
This is going to be a hard one.
Right. What was the first monster to be in the dungeon?
The first monster to be in the dungeon was a being made out of fruit flies that started coming. Everything was just going bad. We're getting bad reviews. People weren't rotating the vegetables. And so out of that rottenness, all these fruit flies started forming, and they formed into this shadowy creature which is like a spider, but like way too many legs. And then they can burst apart into fruit flies and go into your mouth, into your ears, into your eyes, fill your body, control people. So yeah,
spider shaped, too many legs. Made of fruit flies.
Made of fruit flies.
All right, that is fantastic. We now know the start of all of this. Let's flip to slide 2. And we get to make the beginning of the dungeon. The instructions in the game are as follows. Make it not complex. Remember that inchoate wickedness is often simple in its allure.
So just make a room?
A room or two, right? Yeah, because restaurants have like front of house, back of house,
yeah,
right? That sort of thing. I think if we each want to take one of those spaces and give it a little label, I think that's a pretty good start for this complex we will eventually end up making. So which would you like? What space do you want to add to that?
I am going to do the basement where the prep kitchen is.
Fantastic. All right, and then I'm going to make the front of house right up here.
Can I click text in there? Or?
Yeah, just double click it and you'll be able to add whatever you want. And what I want, there we are, lines. And we're gonna do some classic dungeon type art here.
Cool.
Assuming I can get the line tool to... There we are.
I didn't know you could do this in Google Docs.
Yeah, it's super useful because it's basically there's Google Drawing, right? It's its own like actual drawing tool, but it's limited to one sort of space, kind of like MS Paint. Mm-hmm. But if you use Google Presentation, you can have as many spaces as you want because all you need to do is make more slides. Yeah.
And if you're in chat and you have ideas, yell your weird ideas at us and we will sniff at them and not use them. But maybe if they're good, we'll use them.
I concur wholeheartedly. I'm just putting some stairs down. Just like Super Decayed. And center that. There we go. And of course the stairs are wonky because, any restaurant that's like this, they're not going to have maintained the stairs properly.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So this is front of the house and that stairs going down to the basement?
Yeah.
Cool.
And we'll just put a little basement stairs. Give it a little twist, a little interestingness. Slide it right over there. There we are. So this is the start of the dungeon. This is the space that we have to work with. So now we get to determine how many adventurers are coming into the dungeon for the first time. So go ahead and roll a d10 and add 3 to the result. Yeah.
It's orange. I rolled the 2-0, so that's just 23?
Just a 2.
Okay, 2.
Yeah, first digit only. So 5 then. 5 adventurers. Not a bad number to start. You can have up to 13 with this system. Very like old school. Everyone's playing 2 PCs, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to start drawing tarot cards and get their dispositions up.
Sounds
and
good.
Then you can start adding in names, and you can do that while I'm still getting the dispositions if you want to, or you can just you can wait till the dispositions are already in place. It is up to you. All right. Adventurers. First adventurer is the Ace of Cups. And the Ace of Cups is a prideful vintner. Seems appropriate for entering this restaurant-based space here. Next, we have the High Priestess. The High Priestess is a kind temple mother.
And this next one I'm naming is this last one's name is Johnson, but he's named after Johnson on Doro Hedoro.
Okay, fantastic. I have not watched Dorohedoro. I don't.
It's so good.
I need to get more anime in my life. Six of Swords is our
He's a
third
huge
one.
cockroach person who just yells, Johnson! Every time he comes out as his name.
Fantastic. The Six of Swords is a shadowy hunter.
Ooh.
The Five of Discs, or in a standard deck, Pentacles, is a needy matriarch.
Shoot, that works. Yep.
Yeah.
She was the name of my cat.
Oh, wonderful. And last, the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles is a conservative kennel worker.
Okay, cool.
For
And
Johnson.
Shu is actually a cat, but like a psychic cat from another dimension who has led all these adventurers here, like their Professor X.
I dig it. Great. Now we get to figure out what the fates of these adventurers in the dungeon were. If you've played Fiasco, these are Fiasco style tables, so you can roll that d10 twice and give me the results separately, just the first digits.
Okay. Together or separate?
Separate. So
Okay.
yeah.
So 6 and 7.
6 and a 7. The first top level category is Torrents of Sorrow. And the actual event that Siegfried, the Prideful Vintner, encounters is an arcane symbol constructed out of dismembered limbs.
Yes.
Now, like I said before we started, we can add more detail to that if we want to. We can give more context, or we can let the import of the event stand on its own.
Okay, an arcane symbol constructed of dismembered limbs.
Mm-hmm.
At what point would we give importance to that?
Right now. Because basically the goal of this, right, is that you have these strange otherworldly things happening within the dungeon space, right? Think like psychedelic, 70s-esque weird dungeon type stuff. And so even though we don't at this point in time as the player have any context for how this thing could have happened, it did while they were in the dungeon. And if we wanted to write, say, a history of the dungeon, we add.
Okay.
You can write as much or as little as you want to while you're doing this.
This arcane symbol of constructed dismembered limbs. If you look upon it, you begin to have thoughts about a taste you've never tasted before, and you want to find that taste somewhere, but you do not know what that taste is. But you can. It's like an aftertaste in your mouth now, and it coats your teeth like a greasy film. But you don't know what it is, but you need to find it because you need to eat it again.
That is fantastic and exactly the kind of thing that is perfect for this game, because after we do all these fates, we're going to find out who actually makes it out of the dungeon, and the context, right, means it'll help us choose who makes it, who doesn't. Yeah. So go ahead and roll the d10s again, twice.
A 1 and a 9.
1 and a 9, Temptations from the Depths. And the event is looting the tomb, the dusty tomb of a king.
They were who is this? This is Jeff.
Jeff, the kind temple mother. Yeah.
Was looking for food for the group in an old walk-in refrigerator, but the door swung closed and they were just locked inside this darkness that they could feel pushing in on them from all sides, almost like a velvety glove that is just like they can feel the darkness pushing into their mouth and touching the inside of their teeth. And when they leave, they feel like they've been known by someone. Something has seen them and maybe is following them now.
Now, you see, when I reached out to you to be on this stream, I kind of had a feeling that this would be like right up your alley. So this is
Anytime anyone invites me on to play The Quiet Year, they never invite me again. Usually, like we're supposed to be surviving. I'm like, but 2 pale-haired children come to the village talking about the hole. The hole, it must be examined.
Yeah. Fortunately, this game is basically The Quiet Year, but no one has to survive.
Yeah.
And if
no one ever survives when I play the
yeah,
here.
and if someone does survive in this process, they are irreparably altered by it.
Yeah.
2 dice again. Let's go.
So we have 4 and 6.
Baleful curses, and Samantha, the shadowy hunter, now has an animal companion that never leaves their side.
Oh. It's a rat, but it also for some reason can speak, but all it ever says is like almost like it has PTSD from working brunch shifts, and it just is always like muttering things at the worst times. They're like, order up, or I need double hollandaise, and you can't get anything out of it that's useful. And sometimes it yells these things in the middle of like trying to sneak up and be a shadowy hunter. But it also just looks so sad that she can't bring herself to kill it yet.
Aw, poor rat.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that we're going pretty hard on these descriptions, so I'm going to give them a little more space so they're not, you don't have to read around line breaks. All right, for Shu, 2 dice.
4 and a 0.
4, so another baleful curse, and 0 is 10. This is one of my favorite curses in this game. They are forever the hero people around them want.
Okay. So Shu just wants to take a nap. Always. But people are always like coming to them and being like, you have to come and help us clean out this. Find our friend who went to the restaurant and never came back. And they're just like, all right. But little by little, they're starting to crack from not having enough naps and sunbeams as they wish they had.
Very,
and
very
maybe
good.
Eventually they won't be quite the hero you need anymore. Maybe they'll become a villain that you've made by overworking capitalism.
Not that any of us who are on this stream or are watching this stream know anything about being overworked by capitalism, I'm sure. Not a bit.
In chat, feel free to like actually say stuff, y'all. We can see that you're there.
Johnson, conservative kennel worker, 2 dice, please. Johnson.
6 and 4.
So torrents of sorrow once more, and Johnson sees their own dead body in the hall ahead.
Ooh, and they are just like, that is a hot person, and they are in love with it. They see their own dead body, and they won't let anyone hurt it. They keep it close to them, whatever that means, and they are obsessed with maintaining this dead body as a significant other.
Wonderful. So, go ahead, and with this one, you can just, since you've got the tens place die, just go ahead and roll and tell me the result.
6.
60% of the people in the dungeon do not make it out.
Oh, no. Fuck.
Every time I have someone do that roll, they have that same reaction the first time. It's wonderful. So we have
made
5...
all these people, and now we're going to kill all of them.
Times 0.6. So only 3 people... Actually, 3 people don't make it out. 2 do. So, who makes it out alive?
I think Siegfried and Shu.
Siegfried and Shu. All right, so that means that Jeff and Samantha, we're going to go ahead and mark them out. And Johnson do not make it out of the dungeon alive. I like that because Siegfried is going to keep searching for that taste and never be satisfied, and Shu is just going to keep descending further and further down into like
hating people who
just the ire that only a cat could give you from asking too much of it.
They lead them purposefully to their deaths faster and faster, so they can be done with their shift.
I like it. So we move on from our first foray to our time of fallow. The question: what bright thing was left by the adventurers?
What do you mean by bright?
Up to you. How do you interpret it?
Let's see. We had. I think the bright thing that was left behind was the rat.
Okay.
That it stayed behind. Was left behind, but it remembers Samantha, the shadowy hunter, who it loved, and now has to like try to help other people who come into the dungeon. So they left behind a rat NPC.
Wonderful. How have
that knows? It seems like it's a sous chef of some kind. Now,
how have you turned its brightness into corrupting shadow?
It wants to help so much that it says it can do things it can't, and leads them. Oh yeah, I know how to get there, and just leads them into like traps and stuff. But it really wants to help, but it is so worried about failing that it just lies and stuff.
I love it. In the years since the adventurers, who or what has taken up residence inside of your desperate passages?
Just like one thing, or
So this is like the place this sprang from when I made the game was, if you think about like a classic adventure like the Caves of Chaos, there's no rhyme or reason as to why all of these things are in one place. So this is the new monster moving in, because following this, we will expand the dungeon.
I feel like things that have moved in are probably servers looking for new jobs, and they think that this is a restaurant, and they go in there and then they never leave, and they are corrupted by the hunger, and they stay there waiting for. They all are standing there waiting for the samples before their shift, and the thing that comes in are adventurers, and those are like samples.
Wonderful. What did the new resident add to your structure, and what price did you extract from them?
The new resident added an altar that it looks like a table on the side where you would do your side work, and it has like all kinds of like napkins rolled up and like ketchup bottles and stuff. But the price is that they can go there and eat like little packets of ketchup, but then they're actually having to give parts of themselves to it to feed the altar that then turns it into their food. So it's like this weird like cycle of hunger that is them feeding themselves through it.
Yeah, I like it. Fantastic. We now move back to slide 2, and we add on to the dungeon. Same deal. Both of us can add something new. I think in addition to the altar, off of the prep kitchen, there's now a break room.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But like, oh, it's a bad scene in the break room, right? Like these are horrific, monstrous beings that look like servers, but they are. It's just like an abattoir in there now, and it's mostly just parts of their bodies.
And the ground is just littered like with that first you think is like rubble, but it's like knee-high smoked cigarette butts that are mixed like with dirt and blood into like this like almost like you think it was dirt and rubble, but it's just like cigarette butts up to your knees.
Yeah, because there's no ventilation in this room at all. It smells like everyone's last cigarette.
Yeah, and if you stay in there too long, your skin starts to dry out, and it starts to crack, which then will make you more susceptible to diseases and stuff from touching all the raw meat on the walls that might be coming.
I dig it. What do you want to add? We can put the place for the altar in, or you can put in really whatever you'd like to.
Let's do... the altar, but also... Mission. If you go find the altar, There's also some duct work.
Good. That's how management claims that the room is ventilated.
Yeah. That runs here. Wait. Come on. Shape. And then anyone who... Oh, you have to select it every time. You can't just keep drawing them.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, so then this leads to, I don't know where. But if you like dig through the altar and stuff, you will find behind there's a grill that goes to a ductwork. That might lead somewhere.
I like it. That is... that's one of the things that I love about all of this is like the thing that leads to somewhere, right? If you were prepping this, say, for use in a game at home, then like you just make notes for all that stuff and can decide what it is. But if at any point in time you get stuck, you can just do what we're about to do, and you bring in another set of adventurers and see what happens. So I'm going to duplicate.
And this goes down to the sub basement. Oh, that's not good.
Oh, yeah. To sub-basement. Very good. And then what we can do on the next round is we can make another dungeon slide and make a sub-level if we decide to expand that direction. So, foray 2. Please roll a d10 and add 3 to the result. Pardon?
10.
10 total adventures. I love it.
That's a lot.
It is. Fortunately, this will go quickly. It probably means that this will also be the last foray that we do, because 10's a mighty number. So I'm going to go with the tarot cards again, put their dispositions in, and you can drop in some names. First up, we have the Tower. The Tower, get back to my list here, is a chaotic swords person. Next up is the Prince or Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is a fearless explorer. You need one of those in the dungeon. Then we have the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords is a suffering hangman. The Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is a hapless gambler, because of course they are. The Four of Wands. Four of Wands is a gracious cowherd. Just came to drop off their meat. Eight of Cups is a disillusioned fop. Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords is a faithful thresher. The Hanged Man is a desperate parishioner. Fortitude in my deck is strength in most decks, and strength is a doughty warrior. Last, we have the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups is a grieving laborer.
It's quite the group. I wonder how they all got together.
Yeah, so part of the inspiration for that, if you've ever played Dungeon Crawl Classics and done like a level 0 funnel,
No, I know what it is, but I never played it. It's like
Oh, but
you're not a real character unless you survive,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, and people on the stream might not have heard of it. So, yeah, you basically start as like whomever, and you're in this adventure, and every player has like 3 or 4 characters, and you're just your little profession. And if you make it out of the funnel, suddenly you gain a class level, and you become like
That could be pretty fun.
yeah,
I bet.
it's
Especially if you're like just acting like you're role playing as like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm a CPA, like.
yeah, exactly. Cool. So, Jordan, if you would begin given some D10 rolls,
Okay.
we will get some fates for these people.
It's the one where they get 2?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
All right, so the first one is a 1 and a 5.
Witnessing the dance of a strange fairy.
Oh. Okay, and then the next one is 7 and 6.
7 and 6. Diminishing returns. Water that increases thirst.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is 7 and 7.
7 and 7. A golden chest filled with rotting fruit.
So you have basically wrote a 100 percentile table for this, is what it is?
Yeah.
Cool. 0 and 9.
0 and 9. Being trapped underwater, feet encased in leaden boots.
0 and 8.
This is another Stuff of Endless Nightmares, and this is actually like the pale skinned children you just referenced a little bit before. A pit that leads to the center of everything.
Yes, that's going to be the important person.
Yes.
4 and 6.
4 and 6. Oh, this is interesting. The animal companion that never leaves their side has returned. The rat came back.
I think it's the same one.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
8 and 8.
8 and 8. All that glitters. A necklace of copper wolf teeth.
That's pretty rad.
Mm-hmm.
7 and 8.
7 and 8. A maze of tunnels, all alike. That sub-basement's no joke.
0 and 5.
The Stuff of Endless Nightmares being buried alive.
That's a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
And then 8 and 0.
8 and 10, all that glitters, a harp with platinum strings.
Let's start this one. So I think the pit that leads to the center of everything, they found a room that is more meat than masonry, and it thrums in time to their heartbeat. Large veins crisscross everything, and in the center, a very organic looking hole whispers that it can take them anywhere.
I love it.
So I think they found that the gracious cowherd found the center, the actual heart center of the whole dungeon. And they can go into these basically veins of the dungeon if they want to travel between different parts of the dungeon, but who knows what it's like to travel inside the veins of a living dungeon.
Jess certainly does.
Yeah,
I don't know that I want to find out.
Yeah. What's the other good one? Water that increases thirst. Jeff just can't stop fucking drinking. They found an entire pallet of very odd looking energy drinks and rid themselves of all their equipment to carry them around. So they're just, and the more they drink this shit, the more they drink, the more they think they understand the dungeon. But do they? So a golden chest filled with rotten fruit. Sam, the daughter of Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
All these people met at the wake for the last adventurers.
Yeah.
They were closed caskets because they never came back. But yeah. Where was that one? The golden chest full of rotten fruit. Sam just stands there looking at fruit in the chest freezer. No one can get her to move, and she just murmurs over and over. Do you see them? Do you see them? They are beautiful. Being trapped underwater, I guess that just happened to him. Are we gonna do one of these for every single person?
No, we don't have to.
Okay.
Right? So basically, the guidance in the game is to add as much or as little detail as you want to, right?
Forever.
Depending on what's the most interesting.
Fucking yoked as werewolf. A maze of tunnels all alike. I like that one a lot. The desperate parishioner. Keeps falling behind in the others despite intentions are annoyed and stop looking for her. It is in that she finds a door that is exactly her height. It even has a small brass plaque with her name on it. Inside, endless hallways, like some real MC Escher shit.
Excellent. Is there anyone else that you want to add to?
I think those are the best ones.
I agree. Yeah, because some of them are right, like just enough description in and of themselves,
Yeah.
and some of them are awful enough, like just being buried alive. Because I imagine
Yeah.
that happened in the break room,
Yeah.
and that's not.
Yeah.
That's real bad. Okay, now we need to figure out what percentage of these people make it out of the dungeon.
Okay.
So, go ahead and give me that roll.
20%.
Two.
A 2, yeah.
Two of them make it out.
Two of them make it out.
Of
Fuck,
10.
I like these guys.
All
right.
It's tough.
So obviously Trevor makes it out because he just becomes a huge fucking werewolf
Mm-hmm.
and just rips his way through everything. And then I also think Jess.
Okay. All right.
No, wait. Jess doesn't make it out. Jess stays and becomes something else.
Fantastic.
Maybe not even a monster, but Jess is now part of traveling the dungeon forever.
Mm-hmm.
The other person who makes it out is Calliope. Eventually, a long time after Trevor makes it out.
Yeah. All right. Everybody else
Remains inside.
Toast of some kind. Yeah, remains inside, and that's the thing about it, is that they're not necessarily dead. Some of them probably definitely are.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of them just
Yeah.
don't make it out. they're just there forever.
Yeah.
A common thing I've seen when people are playing this is when they get to the next fallow section, they will make someone who was left behind the new thing that enters the dungeon, right? That they just get corrupted themselves and become the new monster, which is always nice to see happen. So, Fallow 2. What bright thing was left by these adventurers?
Let's see, what did they have? The bright thing that was left behind was... Okay, so our options are going to be... What did the new resident add? Okay, so they don't have to be the same.
No.
I think Sam was the bright thing that was left behind.
Very good. Oop, not damn. Sam.
Because she was this child who wanted to find her mother and see what had happened, and now she was left just staring at the chest.
The walk-in, yeah.
The walk-in. Well, the chest freezer, like a reach-in.
How have we, the dungeon, turned its brightness into corrupting shadow?
She's now infectious, and if you stop to look at what she tells you to look at, you also remain standing there forever, seeing whatever she is seeing instead of what everyone else sees. Hey, mister, look at this. It's really great.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look at this. It's really great.
Hey, look at this.
Oh, good. I like a good shiver.
Yeah.
In the years since the adventurers, who or what has taken up residence?
Jess has taken
Jess. Full stop, Jess.
Yeah, Jess is now inside.
Vein Master Supreme.
Yeah, Vein Runner or whatever. So yeah, they have now become like in sync with it, and they travel through the veins, and whether this is good or bad, who knows? You know, maybe they are helping people, maybe they are using it, maybe they just have become lied to by the hunger and are using this as a thing that they can just come out of any wall or anything.
Mm-hmm. Very good. What did the new resident add to your structure?
So the new resident,
I think Jess keeps finding more and more veins, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the Maze of Endless Tunnels portion, but this sort of meat network that underpins the dungeon seemingly has no end.
Yeah. So they added a map on the wall by the hole, but the price that was extracted from it is that, yeah, they can be completely go anywhere they want now, but they can't find the door to leave. They can move at will, but so far they've never been able to find the door.
Wonderful. All right. Back to the dungeon, and I'm just going to go ahead and make this level 2. Get rid of this other stuff. There we are. The dungeon level 2. And what would you like to add?
So we already have that one dungeon, and this is kind of the sub basement.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should add shapes. Got some weird ones in here. Let's add this one. And this is when you land in the sub basement, you land in this round room that at first you think is marble, but it's completely covered with human molars that are all slightly undulating beneath your touch.
That is very, very good and very, very creepy. I like it a lot.
Then from over here, you then also have a couple different little outros that you can go through. Come on, rotate. Nope. I want you to rotate. Rotate. There we go. And in the middle of this room, if you're not careful, there is like a looks like a big round sink drain, and that will go down. If you get too close to it, it starts opening up, and then the teeth start scraping and receding, and you have to get out of the room quickly, or you go down too.
It's like the pit with all the hands from the labyrinth mixed with the Sarlacc from Star Wars.
But this one has teeth and then like soft cilia that are just coming out like anemones, and they'll like slowly take you down to something.
Very good. That's wonderful. So up here on the top, just in this ductwork tunnel that goes to the sub-basement, I'm just going to put a little square here. Oops. Right up top, I'm going to make it a nice, pleasant yellow color. And in all caps, call it the map. Wonderful. So as you can see, like, if you play enough rounds of this, you can easily end up with like an entire massive complex of a place.
And then is the point to then use that for other things, or is making it the point?
A little bit of both, right? So the initial reason for making it was I wrote this back in November of 2020, right? So everything was still completely locked down, and solo games were pretty vital if you didn't have anyone that you could stream with, or play remotely. And so I wanted someone to be able to have like a really satisfying narrative experience on their own, and so I tried my best to write something that really made you want to write more about what was going on. And then the sort of hooks into using it for like a campaign, really easy, right? Because suddenly you've got this space, you know who's in the space, you know why they're in there, and you have all this backstory. Like you and I did this in an hour.
So this could be like a session zero almost for like GM or GM plus the players to then go and do it.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
kind of like in Invisible Sun, like if you make the neighborhood together, you have more ownership over, like you made that NPC, so like you care more about it. You made that room, so you have more fun when you're in it.
Yeah, and so like if we look back at the foray and we see that we now have Calliope, who made it out of the dungeon, right? She can just be a person in town now who's
like, help me with the dungeon.
Yeah.
She's really old now, so it's like, help me with the dungeon.
And then Trevor's just a werewolf.
Yeah, with all these teeth.
Which is now like a threat. And if like, well, where did the werewolf threat come from, right? And you find this necklace, and it has like a scrap that leads you back to the dungeon, right?
Yeah.
And it's all just sort of there. I find this kind of thing much easier than just sitting down with a piece of graph paper and trying to draw boxes and figure out how they all work together. It's like a
dungeon seed plant or thing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's fun.
Cool. I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
And then people, if they want, they can rewrite the D100 table if they wanted to be things that they want to have on the roll and stuff. It's more like the framework for it.
Yeah, definitely. And in the new version that's on Kickstarter, I did write 100 new events in addition to those tables. That's just a D100 roll. If you check out the camera there, if you can read the table.
That's funny.
Yeah, they're just all over the place. The PDF, that page is just an image, and it does have the alt text on the image is the entire list in numerical order because I want it to be accessible,
cool, yeah.
right? Because that would really suck to be a non-sighted person and try and figure out what the fuck is going on that table, because it's hard enough if you can see.
Or just me.
Anybody, really, yeah. Cool. Well, Jordan, I'm really grateful that you took the time to come on and play this with me today.
Yeah, I hope looks really cool, and I hope it's successful.
I mean, it's already funded. Like I mentioned up top,
cool.
We're on our way to that Ganon Reedy tarot card.
Yeah, I need Ganon Reedy tarot cards.
When I thought about making a tarot deck for this, he was the first person I thought of, because some of the work that he did in some of the Neo Scum Guidance was a direct inspiration for like the nature of this game. And
I love how sketchy his stuff is. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I would love to see 78 cards like that. Well, as we are wrapping this up, Jordan, once again, go ahead and tell the people who you are, where they can find you, and how to support all the shit that you do.
Yeah, I'm Jordan Shiveley. You can find almost everything I do at jordanshively.com. There's links to my Patreon, to my podcast that I'm on. I'm currently writing for a podcast called Old Gods Appalachia. I am writing a book called Hot Singles in Your Area, which is coming out through Unbound, but is open for pre-order right now. I make weird t-shirts at voidmerch.net, and I have a Patreon like everybody else. But yeah, you can find all that shit on the Twitter and jordanshively.com.
Wonderful. If you enjoyed this game, it has been You Are the Dungeon. It is on Kickstarter right now. You can just simply search for You Are the Dungeon, and you will find it very, very easily. It's $10 to get in for the PDF version of it. So if you enjoyed this, you should head on over there and get to backing. And I would be remiss if I did not close this out. We are on the One Shot Network Twitch channel. They are currently doing a Kickstarter of their own for Courier's Call Season 2. That is their all-ages version of Campaign Skyjacks. So if you want an all-ages podcast with amazing teen male couriers in skyships, that's just a delight to listen to. It has also already funded, and they are blazing their way through their stretch goals. So you can head over and just search for Skyjack's Courier's Call, and you will find that as well.
Yeah, so, Allie and Drew are super talented, and everything they do should succeed more than it does.
100%. It's fantastic. So if you want to see me do this one more time, on Tuesday night, I will be with Jeff Stormer and Aaron Catano-Sayas of the All My Fantasy Children podcast. And we will be playing the last of the We Are the Dungeon streams that night, unless I get some others scheduled at a later date. But anyway, until then, be well, and we will see you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.